Last weekend that we just had, the weekend before Christmas, nightclubs, pubs, they should have been absolutely thriving. What was the reality?
We've had an atrocious weekend. I mean, the culmination of mixed messaging, the new restrictions have had a huge impact on trade. Many people closing early, and there's huge concern for our sector and a real sort of now a real drive for the Chancellor to step up and support an industry which has really is placed in a pseudo lockdown. I mean, as you know, was suggested by your previous guests, we're in a position where it's almost like the government is saying you can stay open, but they've actually told our customers not to come. It's a terrible situation for everybody.
Well, how is it working in practice? Because are people turning up with negative tests? Are people playing by the rules, if you like, or are people trying to arrive at venues without any documentation?
We would always have that. We've seen that in Wales and Scotland, where people are really unsure of the rules, what the expectation is. So in England, it's the same. We're going through this bedding in process, but I think a lot of people, the combination between mixed messaging from government and restrictions, as you say, in nightclubs, the additional COVID pass or negative test on entry has really deterred people from coming. And we've seen a drop-off in terms of trade for no-shows, in terms of tickets for gigs, but we've also seen a downturn in trade for nightclubs. And that's obviously going to have a resonating impact on trade for this month, which they rely on so heavily to survive 2022 early doors.
Who is still clubbing? Who's going out? I mean, there's a bit of an indication that some university towns and university students are living as though they're not really in this pandemic. Are they supplying any sort of trade that can keep places open?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the age groups, as you would appreciate, some of the youngsters are probably going out a little bit more readily. Some of the older age groups are a little bit more reticent about going out because of their commitments to family over Christmas, as most have said. But I think the interesting part is some of the cities, the major cities are being challenged with footfall in particular. Some of the suburb cities are doing okay, but everyone right the way across the board is quite a way down on sort of trading expectations. So, hugely difficult for everybody out there.
Is there a sense that the hospitality industry is being thrown under the bus here?
We've said many times on our sort of press statements that we do feel that we're being sacrificed. There are questions on evidence, as you can appreciate. As you can understand, the COVID passes were presented as a mitigation that would keep nightclubs open. That's clearly not the case. And the concern that we have is at some point leading up to New Year's Eve is going to create some level of displacement. And that could go into things like illegal events or push people back into households, but which we know full well are, highly transmissible. And that sort of is counterproductive as a whole. So we're really concerned about this strategy from government and whether it is going to be effective. And we know as an industry through many tranches of mitigations that have been put in place where the challenges are. So we're hugely concerned, not only for the survival of businesses, but people's livelihoods. People that we've committed and managed to build up and gain momentum for this trade is now being stifled massively. And we need that support. That's the key thing at the moment, that the Chancellor needs to step up and consider what he can do amongst his options to support an industry that is very fragile at the moment.